excited to get to talk to Miriam today. Another Miriam. That's always so fun. Would you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Miriam, for having me here today. I mean, this is so exciting too. It's interesting how we connected, and I'm so grateful to be here. So I am actually originally from Brazil. I am a mom of three, and my husband and I have a brick and mortar business, and I am also a physician. I'm a nurse. And I just do a lot of different things. I help individuals live a healthier, happier, and higher life so they can, live longer and have the best life that they can have and transform their lives in a beautiful way.
I love that. And that's such, a similar passion behind what you do as myself as well. Like when I first started, I'm like, I just want to help people feel better, right? Function better, feel better in their lives, and that's where where it begins. So tell us a little bit how you started your business, where that began, and how that has sort of evolved.
Well, I have to get back a little bit, telling you a little bit about my story. When I was in medical school, my best friend and I were doing our rotations, and there was a child that came in. It was a 4-year-old child that actually had drank poison and it was a cleaning product, as a matter of fact, and he couldn't breathe. So I was rotating through internal med, and my best friend was rotating through pediatrics. And so it was her patient, but I knew she was in surgery. And when I overheard them calling her, I went to the ER to try to help. And, we stabilized the patient, but we had to intubate him. And the superior wanted to transfer him to a different hospital, which was about 4 hours away, and happened to be in the city that my best friend was from. I was in Mexico. We were, in a general hospital, and it was a big hospital, but this other hospital was like a pediatrics hospital. And when my friend came out of surgery, I met her in the ICU, and I somehow begged her. I don't know why. I had this, instinct about me, and I couldn't even tell why, but I was fighting with her not to go. He wanted her to transfer the patient, and I said, "No, that's for a paramedic. It's a paramedic's job. You don't have to go." And she looked at me and she said, "Miriam, where's your faith?" I'm like, "Well, I have faith. What are you talking about?" And she's like, "You're afraid I'm going to die." And I'm like, "No, I'm not afraid. What are you talking about? Listen, I have faith that I have two kids that need me, and I am not going to die." And she said to me, "Well, I have faith that Jesus wants to take me tonight. I'm ready." And I'm like, "Well, then I'm going with you." And I took, we went on that. We were able to save the 4-year-old, and he was fine by the time we delivered him. She happened to be, the hospital happened to be right behind her house. Very coincidental, not really, but it's funny how life works, right? So I convinced the paramedic to go to her house, and I tried convincing her to stay. Well, she's like, "No, I'm not staying, but I do want to go in and say hi to my mom and my sister that she hadn't seen for like 3 years." And so she went in and she asked for her mom's blessing, and she came back, and I'm like, "Please stay." And she's like, "No, no, no, I'm going. They told me that I cannot stay." I'm like, "I'll fight with them for you. Don't worry. You stay here." She wouldn't stay. So she went. About an hour on our way home, the paramedic fell asleep. An 18-wheeler hit us on her side. The oxygen tank fell on her head, and she died immediately. We spun, and another 18-wheeler hit on my side and broke uh, several bones. I had 11 different fractures in my whole right side of my body. And the paramedic fled the scene and left us there. The other paramedic was by himself, and he was young, and he was trying to figure out what to do to save me because there was nothing to do for her. Um, and we waited there for help for about a couple hours. And to make a long story short, I was literally not supposed to survive at all whatsoever. By the time I got back to my hospital, it was a whole day story in there. My hospital, where I was doing my rotations, my internship, did not have my type of blood. I'm O negative. I had just lost a few patients because there was no blood that week. And so when I got my the test back, I was in the ICU, and they looked at my tests, and I'm like, "What is it?" And they're like, "No, no, no, you're a patient." I'm like, "No, no, no, I'm a doctor. Let me see my results." And I looked at it. And my hemoglobin was 3. And they did not, there was no hemoglobin, no hematocrit, no platelets, nothing. I mean, they did not know how I was alive. I was bleeding inside. It was just like a complete mess. So we were able to transfer me to do the United States side because I was in the border. When I got here, the same thing, they put me through all kinds of tests, and they still didn't know how I was going to survive. So they called my mom in Brazil and told her to come to bury her daughter.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Gosh, I hadn't told that part in a while. But mom came, and all my friends, also were doing a lot of prayer and a lot of different kinds of healing with juices and massages and just everything.
Yeah.
And my mom brought all of the holistic side of that we know, because as far as the doctors are concerned, I was gone.
Oh,
Well, I'm still here.
yes.
And so when that came about, after a whole year of rehab and everything, I just wanted to give back and to show the world that there is an alternative. You can't, you don't have to succumb to what the doctors say. I am a doctor,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
I went to medical school because I wanted to help people. And ultimately, unfortunately, what ended up happening is that my patients would come in, and I knew we could reverse diabetes, we could reverse high blood pressure, we could reverse so many different diseases, but they just wanted a prescription.
Mm.
And so that's when I researched and decided, you know what, I'm just gonna go ahead and do this on my own. And I became a transformational health coach. And today I help people transform their lives inside out and outside in.
I love that. Wow. That's an incredible story and testimony, and just a miracle that you're here, right? And that you obviously have such an incredible purpose to be able to help people. I love that so much. Okay. So, as we go along your journey, so that's where you start as a transformational life and health coach, right? And then how has that sort of evolved over time to what are you still doing that now, or has it changed at all?
Yeah, so I mean, it took quite some time, to get to that. I became a nurse at first, to make ends meet. And I have two kids, and now I'm remarried, so I have a stepson as well. And, I helped my husband with his business and, all of that. So, back in Brazil, I studied accounting and, business, went to business school and all of that. So I have all of that background as well. So it's been a long journey to get to where I am today. Uh, just, there's so many things that we can do to live a healthier life, but there's so many taboos that the world puts on us, right? And there's so many beliefs that it has to be done just a certain way. And so it's been a journey of, transformation, not only to my clients, but also myself, of learning how to navigate all of that. And that's the entrepreneur world of, there's the ups and downs and the beauties, and, and also the struggles that really builds that muscle for you.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's something, as we're in this kind of series of talking to entrepreneurs and people that want to start that or are starting that journey. I think we forget when we see people's, stories or their success with what they're doing, we forget that there's usually quite a long trail behind that. There's a lot that has happened behind that of learning and trial by error and figuring out what works, what doesn't work, and not giving up, being persistent, and not seeing failure as failure, just seeing every mistake as a learning opportunity, and those kinds of things. I think those are the building blocks that make an amazing entrepreneur. And I think so many people give up before they've actually figured out like their thing, They're like, well, I think I want to do this. And they try some things and then it feels like it doesn't work. And then they sort of, give up. And I think when you push through that and you start looking at things through the lens of, okay, well, what can I learn from that? How can I shift and grow from that? Then you start moving forward in a completely different way. And you end up finding, really your true purpose. I think that's so interesting to talk about because I'm sort of similar to your story, a little bit backwards of how a lot of people have their journey. I started working in the medical field as a professional healthcare provider, and then I went the holistic direction, and which is funny because a lot of people start in like more the holistic realm or like with the massage therapy. I do massage therapy, and then they go into the medical field. And my journey is sort of opposite, but it's so interesting to me how like 90% of entrepreneurs that I will talk to will say, I never thought I would do what I'm doing. Like it was not the beginning point. The beginning point can often be so different than where you sort of end up. So I think that is so, so interesting. And I love your story. I think that is incredible. So what would you say were a couple of your biggest challenges and how did you work through those?
Coming from a doctor and having my own practice and, and then having to pivot through, going to nursing school and becoming a nurse. And over here, I had gone through a divorce and, that's how things kind of like laid. Um, and finding my own way to how to really build my passion and serve in a beautiful way. That was the biggest challenge of changing my mindset, finding what I loved and my passion was and what my burning desire was. It was always there, but sometimes it's kind of hidden. And until you're able to discover that and uncover that, because we're not taught that in our schools, we're not even taught that in our family because it is, the society way of doing things is like you go to school, you graduate and you work and you're an employee, right? And then you retire. So the whole entrepreneurial world and vision, it's a discovery. path. And so that was a number one. And I think, for anyone that is looking into to go into it, first and foremost, really dig deep and find that burning desire. Because when the when the tough times come, which they will, right? I mean, that's what you have to go back to, your purpose, what it really encounters. And then, second one, it's really the beliefs of society towards holistic medicine, right? We have seen a big change, a huge transformation from years back to how it is today. The internet, has done a lot of good in that aspect, but also a lot of people have become more and more aware. I mean, even COVID was actually really good for awareness.
People were
Um,
like, oh, maybe I should be healthy.
yes, exactly. Yeah, I mean,
Maybe I should take care of myself.
yes, absolutely. And, and doing research and really looking for, what's out there, what's an alternative. I mean, do I really have to take what the, government is telling me, this is what you have to do? Or, well, hang on a second, that hasn't really worked. So, what else can I do? So, but it's still a very big taboo against it, right? And so going through all of that, but for me, that's the hurdles that I've had to go through.
Yeah, that's huge. I love that you share that, and not being convinced or directed by what other people think. Like I think that's a really big factor in your journey as an entrepreneur, business woman, because the reality is, and I think that's something that I found as a challenge as well. And in the beginning, was that people say narrow down your audience, who's your ideal client, and I'm like, I don't know, I want to help everyone, but the reality is you can't help everyone. We're not like supernatural. So you have to realize, and I think it took me a while to come to terms with the fact that like there are going to be people that don't like what I have to offer. There are going to be people that it just doesn't fit, and that's okay. And I have to just let those people go, and that's fine, and I think that was a struggle for me in the beginning, because I was like, why? I just want to help you. Why are you being this way? And you just have to learn, like, you have your purpose, and you have your people that you're going to help, and someone else has their purpose, and they're going to be able to help other people that you can't. And that's okay. But that's what makes it beautiful too, and amazing, how we all have those unique paths and purposes. So I love
And
that.
yeah, and sometimes, you got to remember the ripple effect as well, because what a word that you might say, or a gesture that you might do, or just sometimes just listening to somebody, it could just really mean the world to them. And you may not be somewhat of that person that transformed their lives in a way, but you may have planted a seed that, the ripple effect will go for them to research more, to look more, or or even think about it. You may help somebody, and then they go and they help somebody else, and then that's another ripple effect as well. So we don't know the goodness that you can do, how far it's going to reach, but I can guarantee you it's going to reach far.
It is so true. And I've seen that, like, there was someone that was a client of mine in the past, but I hadn't seen her in years. Like, and she just randomly posted online, thank you so much for all, for also all of these things that you do, and how you've inspired me. And I'm like, goodness, that you haven't even responded to me in years, but the lasting effects in, however that's dominoed into the other people in her life. And I was just so surprised, because I'm like, I haven't heard from you in so long. But here she is, like, those effects you never know how far that it can reach. So, yeah. That's good.
And life does happen, and to be gracious and to give people grace and give us grace. I think as entrepreneurs, especially, as women, I mean, we're in the manly world, and we're more and more, taking foot of ourselves in this environment, but it's still very manly. And we really have to remember to give ourselves grace, because we can empower other women, and even sometimes some men as well, that other men cannot do. And and sometimes when we're not seeing the results, it's frustrating, right? And you want to see it now, because we're a microwave society. It has to be now.
Yeah.
And then when you don't see it, it's like, just remember, it is a journey. And just to enhance that answer that you were asking of me, really think of the person that you're serving, because that really brings, gets us out of our head, and into our hearts. And then it's a little easier. And also the people that, that we're going to impact in the ripple effect.
Yeah, I love that. That's so, so important. That's a really great tip. Any other tips that you would give someone who's just beginning their journey or has already started a business but maybe facing some challenges? What would you say?
Yeah, first and foremost, believe in yourself. We tend to be very critical of ourselves. We tend to minimize our potential and our talent is. We were just having a conversation of how talented you are,
Yeah.
of how many things that you're able to do, right? And you're like, oh, people say that all the time. So, really, really, truly stepping into your powerfulness, because as women, we are very powerful. I mean, think about it. We can give birth. Men cannot do that, and
We
they
can
will
make
probably
humans.
die if they try.
Right.
Because,
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean, if there's any men listening to us right now, I'm so sorry, but you guys are the biggest babies, right? I mean, and we probably allow you to be, but just definitely believe in yourself, and know that you can. The negative voices will come, the negative naysayers will come. It is very natural for human beings to be negative, because that's all we know. That's, I mean, if you turn on the news,
Fear.
that's all you're going to hear, and that's what people are fixated on. And so when you become an entrepreneur, you have to build a muscle of faith in yourself, faith in your own belief and power and capacity and talents and everything. Because just like you said, Miriam, I mean, it's what you can help somebody with, nobody else can.
Mhm.
My story is going to help somebody, your story is going to help somebody else. It's like we have that power about ourselves, and the experiences that we gone through, it's going to empower, whether you are in sales, whether you're building your own business, whether you're in coaching, whether you opening your own store, whatever it is. Definitely believe in yourself 110%,
Yeah.
that that you can do it.
I love that. And when you have that sort of belief, it dominoes into so many areas. It will domino into your confidence level. You will, and there was one, I can't remember her name. I think it was Jamie Kern Lima is an entrepreneur, and her story is just so incredible. If you have a chance to go look it up, I think she has a book too. She for like years, I think it was 10 years, maybe longer, she created her own skincare makeup line or whatever that would help for people that have uneven skin tone, da 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 da. And she kept getting rejected from these companies. And she said, I just decided to believe that it was going to happen and just continue to act as if it's going to happen. and not let any of that, impact me. That's what she did. And she's like, and it was such a strong belief that she would even contact the companies that had rejected her and be like, look, I got featured in a magazine. Like, look, this happened. Look, my makeup's going to be here. Da, da, da. And eventually they ended up, carrying her line or whatever it was, accepting her. Even though in the beginning, some of the companies even said, well, you're not pretty enough to represent your brand. How ridiculous is that? But so you just, that belief is so important, or faith, belief, however you want to phrase it, has to be so strong, and it's connected so strongly to your passion, what you love to do, and that you can do, that you're passionate about. That will keep you moving forward no matter the difficult things. Like she said, there will be obstacles, along the way. And we have to just decide to look at things a different way. Like that's not, that might seem like a mountain in my path, but that doesn't mean I can't hike the mountain. That doesn't mean I can't go around the mountain. That doesn't mean I can't go under the mountain. That doesn't mean I can't dig a tunnel through the mountain. Like it might seem really hard, but that doesn't mean you can't do it. So, yeah.
That's so true. And the most important thing really that has carried me through, I'm a very faith-based person. So, God is my number one. And so whatever you believe in, there's got to be something that is a higher power, something that is bigger than you, but that is not sitting up there on a throne somewhere. He's actually right here with you, and you can co-create your life with him. And, once I understood that, every single day, it's like how my day is going to go, what that vision of what it's going to look like is going to be, all of those things, and having faith on something that has created all of this. And so abundance is our birthright, as Bob Proctor says, and it's just something that you've got to have something that is bigger than you, so you can believe in that abundance and that prosperity. And a lot of times it's just changing the thoughts and changing how you talk to yourself and how you perceive. There's a lot of things that you can do. Self-development is not a one and done. It's a journey. So as you enter into this whole entrepreneurial life, there's so many bumps along the way. Jamie Kern Lima is like an incredible story, for sure, of persistence, you see. And when you find something that you love, you can pivot, right? I mean, she went to all kinds of different people, and she kept getting no's and stuff. Well, she kept going to others, and so, I mean, you can always find different ways of doing what, you definitely love, but for sure, definitely keep your eyes on, that greater thing. And when you believe, like you were talking about, Miriam, when you believe, and you believe so heartedly that it is already done, it's already here. A lot of people teach, and I was one of them that would listen and read about, books talking about your future self. Just recently, I realized it's not about your future self. It's about your twin self. So a good friend of mine just shared this with me, and she talks about the twin self. So what's your twin self? It's right here. She was born with you, but it's that person that already has none of the negative stuff, just the good stuff, and and so living that fulfilled life completely, each and every day, because you're still a mom, you're still a woman, you're still a wife, you still, a housewife, you still got to do a lot of the things as women, do. And that's why we multitask so beautifully. But when it comes to your business, you got to be extremely focused.
Yeah, I love that. And I really like the faith element, because that's been so true for myself as well. Like without my faith and the strength, the peace, the hope, the joy that comes from God, like I don't know if I would have made it through a lot of the things. Truly, I honestly, I probably wouldn't be alive either. So there's that too. There's probably lots more stories we can share another time, but and it is absolutely true that that faith, that belief, the size of a mustard seed can move mountains. And, proverbially speaking, where we're, not maybe not necessarily literally, but probably literally too. um, that makes such a huge difference. You're absolutely right. I love that. And then staying focused. Yes, that's just really important. Is it's so easy to, and I've seen this with so many people, and I think I've sort of done it sometimes a little bit too. Like we're like, okay, there's this thing I'm gonna do. And then we're like, oh, there's this other cool thing I want to do too. And then you start like trying to do that, and you're
The
not.
shiny objects.
Yep. So that would be another great tip, I think, to take away is stay focused on one thing at a time. Like, yeah, okay, maybe you do want to do this or that, but put it on a list that you can do it when you've gotten to a certain, make yourself a goal. Like, I have to get to a certain point with this project before I can add on the next thing. And I think that can really help. So you push through and you'll get further, because it's true. Like, if we divide ourselves between multiple things at once, not all of your energy, your belief, your passion, your efforts, your gifts are going to go into that one thing, because you're spreading it out, and that's just the way it is. So, so staying focused, yeah, I think is really good. It's a good one.
Yeah, and just to add to that, as you navigate this whole entrepreneurial world, you absolutely need to be very diligent about your time. And for me, it's what I call the miracle morning. And that's how I start my day, and there's certain things that you need to do in order to be able to do your income producing activities, in order to feel your best, to be your best, to scale in the business. You absolutely need to be ready for that. And so you definitely want to have some kind of strategy that you put in place that works for you. For me, like I said, it's my miracle morning, where I go through, my devotion in the morning, some exercise, some reading, some journaling, and a lot of times just putting in one thing that we forget is our feminine power. We go into, like I've mentioned before, we are in this manly world, and so we have to utilize a lot of our masculine energy, but we forget that our feminine power, it is so powerful. Our feminine energy is so powerful, because but for that, you've got to be connected with yourself, with your inner self, with the peace. And you just mentioned when you are connected with God, all of the peace and joy and all of those wonderful things come from that. So you've got to find what resonates with you and what works for you, and put that into place. And then the other thing I wanted to share is actually what I like to call magical evenings, and that is preparing for the next day. First and foremost, remember to write down your wins, and I call them magical moments. So throughout the day, what was it that you were able to accomplish today? And it could be something simple, a phone call that you were afraid to make, or an interview that you got invited to, some sort of thing that played a beautiful moment in that day. Then your body, when you are remembering the good things, you are reliving the good things, your body actually is releasing good hormones, the happy hormones, the endorphins and oxytocin, all of that good stuff. And so when that happens, the other great benefit is longevity, because the more happy hormones that you have in your body, the more your body is able to fight off whatever the world send you, and you can live healthier and longer.
Yeah, that is so true. I think that's so important to remember that our mind works together with our body. I've talked about this with some of the other videos I've done in interviews and things too. Like what your mind is doing, your body will follow most of the time, right? And that's why our thoughts are so powerful. And that's why when we focus our mind on things that are good, on the wins, on gratitude, on those kinds of things, our brain will begin to produce those neurochemicals. And that makes our brain want to do more of those things, want to think about more of those things and do more of those things. And that will domino into our behaviors, our choices, our habits. And over time, you can develop more and more of those habits and it will pull you in that direction. Whereas if our mind is stuck in a not so good place, right, then our behaviors, actions, and so on and so forth will domino from that and we'll probably go in a different direction. So it is so, so powerful. Absolutely. And some of that is the belief we talked about. And then, like you said, I love that. That's so, so good. Yeah.
Yes, most definitely. I mean, it's, there's so many facets of being a woman entrepreneur. But most of it is all about choices. It's how you choose to take a situation and how you choose to react to it, how you choose to respond to it, how you choose to make decisions, from your higher self or from your lower self, right? I mean, there's every single day, it's all about choices. And you can choose to be happy. You can choose to live a happier life. But along those choices, when you make that choice and you make those decisions, then doors starts opening to you. And the universe or God or whatever you believe, I believe in God, it starts showing you different things that can make it easier. And sometimes we call it miracles, right, where it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I made the sale, or I got this client, or my business grew this much and whatever. It's like that happened as a consequence of a decision that you made way back then.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's true, like also our brain looks to prove what we're thinking, right? What we're thinking about, what we're focusing on. So whatever you're focusing on and you're thinking about, your brain is going to look for a way to make that true because that's just the way that we are designed basically. And it's that reticular activating system. I'm sure you've seen that and heard about that. So, a very simple example is if we're going to the kitchen and we're looking for the peanut butter, our brain is going to be looking for the peanut butter. We're probably not going to notice the spaghetti over here or the ketchup over there because our brain is looking for ketchup. Or for peanut butter, sorry, our brain is looking for peanut butter. So that's just a simple example, but that's how it is with our thoughts. And whatever our mind is focused on with our beliefs, our thought patterns, our thought habits, all of that, that's what our brain is going to look to make true, basically to prove is true. And if you know that that's going to highly affect your choices. Like you said, it's all about choices. That's going to majorly influence your choices and thereby your behaviors and so on and so forth. So you can see the domino effect. But I used to always like laugh and be like super annoyed because my husband used to say, just mind over matter, just think about something better and you will have, because I used to have anxiety attacks and it would make the anxiety attack go away. And I'm like, you are ridiculous. That is absolutely not true. You don't understand. You do not understand this. Now, is it a magic button? No, it's not. But it is that as you begin to shift those thought patterns and those beliefs over time, it can improve. And that's what happened for me, even with my anxiety attacks. As I began to shift the way I was thinking about the circumstances, my mind would begin to shift and my behaviors, all those neurochemicals would begin to shift because an anxiety attack is majorly, our thoughts and our neurochemicals. And there's like, a storm of that. And when we can learn to shift that, you can shift. Do I never ever had an anxiety attack? No, of course that still happens occasionally. However, I am much more quickly able to recognize and pull myself out of it. It's not like a snap your fingers, but it's so different than I used to not be able to come out of it like for a long time. So I hope that encourages someone out there that maybe struggles with anxiety a little bit. You can use your thoughts and beliefs to start shifting, and you can even feel that physically in your health too.
You can. There was a study done, Miriam, with depressed patients where they took a couple of different, you know, a group of one and a group of another. And the one group, they had them volunteer and give their time to somebody else and help somebody, in need, and uh, pay attention and worry about others, right? And this group, they just continue, doing their thing. Well, 99% of the group that volunteered cured the depression.
Mm.
Once they started thinking, changing the thoughts, that were consuming them about being depressed, to actually worrying and helping others, all of a sudden, the neurochemicals just completely changed within themselves. And, a lot more of the, happy hormones came out. And long and behold, they no longer were depressed.
Yep,
So
absolutely. Wow.
it's, yeah. And it's, I mean, you can see it, scientifically proven that, right? And you can see it in yourself, how just by changing. And think about it. If you try smiling, okay, you're really in a bad mood. I mean, you just had a biggest fight with your husband, right? And then you try smiling forcefully, and you don't want to, but you try. I'm gonna smile. I have to
Mhm.
smile. When you smile, you cannot be angry. You can't do both. You can't be doing both.
True.
So immediately, just that simple little thing. Sometimes I, will go through what I like to call contrast, where, something wrong is going on, right? And it's happening, and it's like I force myself to smile, you
Love
know,
that. Yeah.
or laugh and dance, sing. Whenever you do an activity that is opposite from what you are having to deal with, it will, just
Oh,
start that process. Like you said, it's not a magic button, but it will start the process. And the more you do, the easier it is for you to stay there, in a longer period of time.
yep. I love that. So powerful. It's absolutely true. As you begin to make those shifts, you'll see huge differences. And that's a lot of what I do with my clients. And when I create the holistic care plan, is those little tools, like what tools can we use like that to start making those shifts in little areas, couple minutes here, a couple minutes there, so that you can just function better and shift out of the anxiety or the fear or the whatever it is that's going on, and move in a different direction. And as you build those habits, it gets easier and easier and easier. Definitely.
Yes, it does, and then you will start finding different things that, can make your life easier, like the tools that you're mentioning, like also, eliminating toxins from your body, from
Mhm.
your environment. There are so many things that are directly related to, unfortunately, cancer and so many other diseases that are out of our innate, so it's not part of what builds up inside of us. And that's why I help individuals transform their lives inside out and outside in, because I help them eliminate the toxins from their environment as well, because those are factors that can also cause so many diseases. People that are affected by asthma, affected by allergies, affected by so many different things. As soon as you eliminate the outside, environment that is polluting their organism, you got to remember your skin is the largest organ that we have. So everything absorb through it, right? So whatever you're using as far as like your, the essential products every single day, you've got to be very conscious about that, because it could just the laundry detergent that you use, we don't think about these things. We think whatever it's on the shelf, it's safe. It's not. It's there's 1,500 chemicals that are banned in Europe. I have some friends that are from Europe, and they're like, why are you guys using Johnson and Johnson? It's like, it's banned over there. you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
Tide, it's banned over there.
Yeah.
And over here there's only like 10 or so. So learning those things and finding different ways that you can do to be able to eliminate all of that, it will help clear up a lot of the things that you may be struggling with as well.
Yeah, we have to clear out those receptor sites in our cells. That's something I think people forget, kind of, we don't really think about it, like you said, that those synthetic things from foods and also from environmental factors, they're literally clogging up the receptor sites in our cells so they can't do what they need to do. And that includes the ones in our brain for our neurochemicals we were talking about. So for your serotonin, for your melatonin, for your oxytocin, for your adrenaline when you need that, all of those kinds of things, those receptors can be disrupted, and that can contribute to some of those things like the depression, anxiety, other things when you don't have the proper, cell receptor site. So definitely that's something to think about. We'll have to set another time to talk more about that, because that's like a whole nother thing that I love to talk about too. So yes. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Really, really appreciate it. Tell us, where can the audience find you, connect with you if they would like to?
Right now, they can actually email me directly, drmiriammachado.com. Machado is Machado. I'm sorry, at gmail.com.
Okay.
So Dr.
I'll
Miriam
put it in
Machado
the
at
like
gmail.com.
subscription, or the description for everyone.
Yeah,
So
yeah, you can just email me directly. I'd love to help any way I possibly can. I'll leave you with this. Everybody can apply for a credit card, and this credit card is actually something that anyone can be approved. Okay, it's from the Bank of Emotions. And so the Bank of Emotions basically means whatever you deposit on this credit card is what you're going to be able to withdraw. So remember, if you're depositing good emotions, you'll be able to withdraw good emotions. If you're depositing bad emotions, that's what you're going to be withdrawing. And so if you can think of that, you can utilize that credit card anytime you want.
that's great. I like that analogy. That's good. Our little bank card there. Great. Okay. Thank you guys so much. And I look forward to talking soon.